One of the top priorities for the Biden administration is immigration reform and providing a pathway to citizenship for the so-called dreamers. The president made that clear when he signed a number of executive orders on immigration shortly after being inaugurated. A few days later, he sent an immigration reform bill to Congress. Now lawmakers on Capitol Hill are beginning to act. Democratic Senator Dick Durbin and Republican Senator Lindsey Graham recently introduced a bipartisan bill called the DREAM Act of 2021. It would give people brought to the United States illegally as children the chance to obtain lawful permanent resident status. But this is not the first time that Durbin and Graham have introduced this legislation, and it remains to be seen if it will pass this time around. For more, I'm joined by immigration attorney Alex Ozols. Alex, thanks for being with us. So estimates on the number of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. range from 10.5 million to 12 million, but far less would qualify as so-called dreamers. Who would be eligible under the DREAM Act?
Yeah, so it's anyone who came into the U.S. As a minor under 17 years old. They would have had to have been in the U.S. for 4 years. They would be paying taxes in the U.S. They would have to pass a background check, and they'd have to be enrolled in school. And these essentially would be what would be considered the dreamers. Now, for these people, it's around the estimates are around 650,000 people.
And once a person is on the pathway to citizenship, what do they have to do to become a lawful permanent resident?
Sure. So anyone who's a dreamer, if the bill passes, they'll become a temporary, they'll get a temporary green card. So they'll become a temporary permanent resident, essentially. To become a permanent resident or to get a permanent green card, what they're going to have to do is one of three things. They're either going to have to get their college degree, they're going to have to enroll in the military for 2 years, or they're going to have to work consistently for 3 years. Now, once they have their permanent green card or a permanent resident, then after 3 years, then they can apply through citizenship through the naturalization process.
Now, Alex, this is a bipartisan bill. It has support from Republicans and Democrats. But as I mentioned, it's not the first time that Senators Durbin and Graham have introduced this bill. Why has it failed to pass previously? And what do you put on the chances for it passing this time?
Yeah, so this is interesting. This is actually a bill from the DREAM Act. It was from 2001. So this is actually the 20-year anniversary here on this bill. And it didn't pass then. And every couple of years, it's kind of coming up and they're revisiting it. And now it's actually having bipartisan support. So a lot of the Democrats and some of the Republicans are supporting this bill. So it's kind of exciting that now this bill could pass because they think it's in the best interest of the people. They've been working on this bill for 20 years now. And, they've been changing it and moving it around. And they think now this is the time that's right. And I think from what we've heard, there's a really good chance this bill is going to pass.
Alex, as you mentioned, the requirements to qualify as a dreamer are some of the best among us as Americans. There are people who have volunteered to serve in our military, people who have achieved education and are working in our communities. But many of them were burned by what they saw happening during the Trump administration and fear that their willingness to come forward and register with the government might come back to hurt them. So I'm wondering what, in your expert opinion, is happening among people who are qualifying. Are they still regarding the government warily, or are they excited now about the possibility of full legal status that can't be taken away?
Yeah, so it was quite a vetting process. I mean, these people had to go through a background check. They had to go through a biometrics appointment. They then had to pay taxes in the U.S. for several years. Every time they've moved, they've had to change their address, and they've been enrolled in school. And I've had several of these clients, and they're hanging in there. And it's kind of sad to know potentially they thought this was taken away, but now they should know that their opportunity is back. They've done all the right things for a significant amount of time. They've passed all the checks. They've done this. They've qualified, and now it's their opportunity. So, from what we've been hearing, people are very excited now that what they've done in the U.S. and they've been productive in the U.S., that's finally going to pay off.
So, Alex, I'm wondering if this bill passes now, does it only apply to people who have already registered with the government as dreamers? Or if somebody meets those criteria, are they able, after the bill passes, to still try and apply for this legal status?
Yeah, so if They can do it after the bill has passed, yes. They just need to qualify under those standards, which would be they came into the U.S. Before the age of 17. They've been in the U.S. for 4 years. They've been enrolled in school. They've paid taxes in the U.S. and they can pass background checks. Now, as long as they pass those, they qualify there, they can still qualify under the DREAM Act and they won't have any issues. It's not like only people who have already applied for it qualify. As long as they meet those qualifications, they would still qualify for it.
One last question for you. If the bill doesn't pass this session, what will happen to the Dreamers?
Yeah, so if the bill doesn't pass, President Biden could do an executive order. And the only reason why an executive order would be invalid is if it directly conflicts with the Constitution. And there's nothing really to show here that it's going to directly conflict with the Constitution. No areas of the bill should. Obviously, President Biden wants us to pass through the Senate because if it does, this is an exciting moment for the U.S. It shows the government's been working together to pass a bill that could be very good for the American people or very good for people that have been doing the right thing. However, if it doesn't pass in the Senate, Biden could and probably will just pass this through an executive order.
Though, as we've learned, executive orders are more easily undone than congressional action. All right, Alex Ozols, thank you.
Thank you.